on today's edition, I am talking to Gail Kim, an Impact Hall of Famer and executive role there as well. How are you today?
Great. Thank you for having me.
We'll talk about the people involved. Why do you think it took so long to have a Queen of the Mountain match in Impact?
I mean, I really don't know. You know, that is a very good question. I don't know why it took so long. And maybe they didn't think about it because we're always climbing this tiny hill in terms of, you know, I remember when I had my very first steel cage match, I was begging for that match. I was begging for that ladder match. And so, you know, King of the Mountain has always been a huge staple to TNA and Impact for the men. So I was telling a story that basically a couple of months ago, the Knockouts had their very first Ultimate X match. And
Yes.
So they were fighting for that match, and they literally had to climb the structure when it was up for the men to prove that they could do it.
Yeah.
So the company and the management said, yes, okay, you know what? Let's let them prove themselves. Wow. And they absolutely delivered. And so when it came to Slammiversary 20, they didn't even have to beg for anything. It was just, let's give them this match because they know that they will deliver. And I know all 5 competitors that, you know, they're all former Knockout world champions. So we got the best of the best. I don't even know who's going to win. It's 5 great competitors, and I'm just excited. I just want them to steal the show.
Yeah, let's talk about it. We get Tasha Steelz, the champion, Chelsea Green, Deonna Purrazzo, Jordan Grace, and Mia Yim. So right off the bat, you don't know who's going to win. And on top of that, the cherry, Mickie James, the enforcer for the match. So it's like anything could happen. And you just said you can't predict who's going to win, but can you?
I mean, it's really, I really can't. I've been asked this question so many times. And I think on my last interview, they were saying, what is Mickie going to do? And listen, Mickie is a very respected woman, female wrestler within the industry. I believe in her judgment. I don't think she's just there to make sure that nothing does go a little crazy, you know, that it is fair. So I'm not worried about her interference so much because she just wants it to be fair and square.
And with 20 years of Impact, you must have so many memories, but what are memories that don't involve you that you just can think of and you're like, oh, that was one of the top 5 moments of Impact?
Ooh, moments or matches?
Well, let's go with a little both. Be crazy.
Okay, the match, I would say, just off first instinct when you said that, my favorite match outside of the women's division and all that was probably AJ, Joe, and Christopher Daniels 3-way match, Unbreakable, because I was part of the roster then, and I remember being backstage and going crazy because I am one, if I'm into it, I'm into it, and I will react out loud like a fan backstage. And incredible to this day. You know, I always try to tell the wrestlers that I produce, because nowadays everything's like very high action and going for the biggest reaction. So I just try to tell them, listen, guys, you don't want to go for that GIF and Twitter, or, you know, just for that one gratifying moment on social media, because people forget that your goal is to have memories that last for 10, 20 years where people can look back and say, remember that match? Right. Remember that match you had 10 years ago? That really resonated with me. And that's the ultimate goal that I think everyone should have, to have those memories. And that was one of them, that match.
100%. I was, if I was also answering, that would have been my answer for the greatest.
Yeah, oh, wow.
Of course. Unbreakable, I think it's 2005 maybe. And that was like, Samoa Joe was on a tear. He beat like AJ the month before, Dales, and then they did that, and then they tried to top it with the Ultimate X. And it was like, you can't top this. This is crazy. Like, you guys are mad.
I mean, listen, it's hard for us wrestlers to top when you have magical moments like that. So the pressures are always really on that. I have had the pressure on many times, but those guys, all amazing talents, and still to this day, obviously still wrestling those guys. I don't know how they're doing it.
You know, still, they're all of them still compete in one way or another, but they're still doing what they do. And that's it's quite amazing. But speaking of you, will we ever see you back in the ring one more time, or your boots? They're off.
They're pretty much off. And like, you know, because you don't, I have a lot of people saying when they're coming near retirement, they're like, well, maybe I don't want to have a big announcement because, you know, I might come out of retirement. And never say never, I'll say that at least, but it would take a hell of a lot. It would take this person that I'd be like, oh, I need to come out of retirement for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take huge reasoning because I am very happy with how I closed my door. And not many people can say that. So for me to ruin that, because I have a perfectionist nature, if it doesn't go as planned, I would have to come out again and like fix it and
Right.
fix it and fix it until I have that perfection again. So I'd rather just put it to bed.
I was going to say, you ended yours nicely. I was like, don't come back. And this is not a knock at him at all. When Shawn Michaels retired, it's WrestleMania 26, he retired. He came back for one match, and it like ruined the feeling everyone had inside them of like, oh.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that because I'm not touching it now.
And Shawn Michaels is my favorite of all time, but but it was like someone must have been convinced him to do that, and tainted it. And as like Terry Funk has retired 1,000 times, and he's still one of the best of all time. So nothing wrong with that. Shawn Michaels' moment was a little.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, and there's people that I admire so much and loved so much watching as my career went on. And I kind of wish that they did hang it up a little bit earlier, just so I had that perfect memory in my mind. So I want to keep that.
And the Knockouts division, as people have compared so many different organizations to each other, I've never heard a bad word about the Knockouts division. So that's a thumbs up to you and your work, and of course the women as well. But recently it was announced that Paige from the WWE is leaving. She's going, no, Impact Wrestling, Knockouts division. Could this eventually be something we see?
Never say never. I love Paige. I admire everything that she's done for women's wrestling. She also came up kind of in that kind of period where maybe it wasn't so powerful like what it is now. Women's wrestling is probably at its best right now. We're main eventing. It's not a pay-per-views, shows. It's not a irregular thing for that to happen. So, you know, Paige was part of that process. I have nothing but respect for her in and outside of the ring. And hey, if she wants to come over to Impact Wrestling, I feel like the door is open. So come on over, Paige.
And fans expect watching this event 20 years in the making. Are we gonna have some prizes? We're gonna have some surprises, right?
Absolutely expect surprises for sure. Some nostalgia. Absolutely. I mean, it would only make sense since the 20th anniversary. More than anything, I would say, since this year has begun, I don't want to toot our own horns, but I feel like we've been delivering the best pay-per-views, being so consistent in that regard. At least that's what people are saying and the buzz is about. So I don't think that this is going to be any different. Listen, those wrestlers on the roster, they're always looking to kill it. And it's really just a competition of who's going to steal the show at this point, I think. And I expect the girls to do that.
Of course. And you're going to get the main event with Josh Alexander and Eric Young, too. That's something. Actually, I'm not. Maybe the women are main eventing. I don't think it's been 100. We'll get to the.
It's Josh Alexander.
It's okay. I just want to make sure because I don't want to be like, well, if this is the main event, and then someo's like on Saturday or Sunday, you guys change it because who knows why. But yeah, that's a match I think people are really interested in because Eric Young is. The term is used, homegrown talent. He left, he came back, but he's done everything. He's been comedy, serious, scary, everything underneath the sun he has done for Impact Wrestling. Now he's taking on like the new face of the brand. So how are you feeling about Josh Alexander as kind of the new face of the brand? Moose for a while had this, but now it's Josh.
Absolutely. Listen, Josh has been wrestling for about 17 years now, and he really got his opportunity really late in his career. So he's very seasoned. He's very polished. He's very confident in that ring. He is, he reminds me of me in a lot of ways because we love wrestling in that ring, the sport of wrestling. So I know he's always trying to be the best, proving to be the best, showing that he can be the face of this company and carry that, you know, that's all on the line. And on Sunday, and Eric Young, listen, I've known him since the beginning of my career, literally when I was training, because we're both, hey, we're all Canadian. Actually, I just said, hey, so Eric has always had the natural talent. This guy, I just recently said, actually between him and Chris Jericho, they've both had very, very lengthy careers. And only last year was the first time, or this year, I can't remember, recently, they were both injured for the very first time. I mean, to go that long without being injured. And they both came back pretty quickly. And Eric has always delivered. And you can say from the past, like, he could be, you know, he's a name of the past. Eric still got it. You can see him there. Oh, he is so graceful in that ring, and I can appreciate both of their work. So I'm excited. I just think the fans are going to win overall in terms of that match, and they're going to get a 5-star match out of that night.